What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley, back today with another live stream. Feels good to be back in the barbershop once again. We talking sports. We won't be before you long. We're going to get in and try to get out of here. Don't have many topics, man. But once again, back in with my co-host, Mr. Reid. How you feeling today, Mr. Reid?
Doing great, man, for a Monday. Football season around the corner. Doing good.
Yeah,
Even
man.
got my Jaguars shirt on. I ain't a retired sports writer can wear his colors.
Definitely wear the colors now. But man, as everybody heard, of course, breaking news just a few hours ago, Mr. Laviska Shenault is going to Carolina. So Balky has a relationship with Carolina's front office because that's two players he was able to move and get some capital for. And two players who I would say have, turned out to be disappointments. One is C.J. Henderson, of course, and the other is, of course, Laviska Shenault. And man, that Jalen Ramsey trade looks worse and worse and worse as time go on. The last hope for that trade, salvaging any part of that trade, is Travis Etienne being a star. That's the only thing can salvage that trade, man.
Well, let's break this trade down, man. I mean, Laviska Shenault, second round pick, obviously didn't live up to expectations. And I tweeted out earlier, I'm not surprised in that deal. When I knew that there was going to be either he would get waived or traded, is when he was the only veteran to come back and participate in the veteran minicamp. From that day forward, I always felt that his numbers, his day was coming, And it just, to be honest, you got to go back to Dave Caldwell, and we talked about this earlier. I felt like if you go back and watch Laviska tape at Colorado, versatile player, played three different positions, physical, break tackles, can run out the backfield. But in my own opinion, even when they drafted him, I just didn't think that was what they needed. I didn't think that. I think that they needed a big, tall, strong guy with speed who could break outside and be an outside receiver. And I think that's some of the downfall with him was, obviously he had.
What up, Ness?
Football IQ wasn't great. He ran wrong routes, ran into players a couple of times last season.
Yeah.
Not to
ran the wrong route.
Yeah, ran
Saturday.
the wrong route. Yeah, ran the wrong route Saturday. Not a kick, not a punt returner. That was displayed, because he doesn't have blazing speed. And it just, I always say the biggest downfall with a franchise, no matter what, you can go to the NBA, you can go to NFL, man, you can even go to Major League Baseball. You have to get high draft picks right. You have to get your first and your second round picks right. You have to do your homework. And I just think there's been, just like you said, they didn't do their homework with C.J. Henderson, a guy who, most people would say don't love football, unmotivated, personal issues, and you take that 9th overall pick. And when you're struggling as this franchise has done over the years, you cannot gamble if you don't have a sure thing pass. Go to something else. You can't pass up talent to try to prove a point. And I think, and another problem I feel, even with Laviska, you would know after 2 seasons, basically, is he a hit or is he a miss? And it's the same thing with Chason right now. He's a miss. I don't care where you line him up at. I don't care if he makes the roster this year. He's a miss. There's no way you can coach him at this point that he's going to be something special for you. He's never going to live up to being a first round pick. Same thing. You go back to Taven Bryan. You can keep him around. You want to save face that you don't want to, embarrass yourself, releasing a first round pick and not admitting a mistake. But the bottom line is, can he make plays? Can he be consistent? Can he get on the field and that he's making a presence on the field? And Laviska was that type of player where you don't know what you was going to get from game to game. And it just so happened, just like C.J. Henderson, I feel both of these guys about the same. They just found a team willing to take a chance on him, because if Laviska if the Jaguars didn't get a trade partner, they were going to cut Laviska. He would have been cut. So the only thing that I see the benefit of this today, that they save face, that here's a second round pick that they were able to get something for and didn't have to waive him. That's basically it. And I don't know. I mean, you might disagree, but I don't know if he could be a great receiver in this league. I think he could be, maybe the versatile guy who can play running back / wide receiver. But I don't know if he's going to be, whether he, a new address with the Panthers or he goes somewhere after this season with another franchise. I just don't know if he's going to be what the expectations was for him coming out of Colorado, And I commend I say this about the Jaguars, why keep them around? Why try to make something work? Why hold on to him taking away a roster spot from a young player like the Tim Jones? And you do what you have to do. You go and see what the interest is, and you go in and make the trade, because you're not going to get if he stayed on the roster this year, you're not going to get the value. I mean, you're not going to get any more production, regardless of the coaching. That's where a lot of people mistake. Okay, well, we got a new coaching staff, so Doug Peterson should make him a better player than what Urban Meyer and them failed to do. But let's be honest, man. If you are a receiver in the NFL, you were still running the wrong routes after 3 years, 4 years, whatever he's been in the league. You can't coach speed if you don't have speed. And that basically was it. He's a slot receiver who basically can run slot routes, run over a couple of guys, get out of bounds, and that's basically what you got. And this is just a testament that the Jaguars have to draft. I believe they got a solid draft class this year. They got to continue to draft like they did this year. You can't make mistakes like this, because if you sit in first round, second round, third round picks off of, and you getting 6th round picks back in return, then you're setting your franchise back, and this is a setback. This is a setback for the Jaguars, that they couldn't get production from a player that they drafted that high. And you could have drafted the kid from LSU. They could have got him, Jefferson. They could have got him. When you look at that draft and you look at the people they passed up to get Laviska, that's what set your franchise back right there, And
don't remind me. Oh, dude, when you look at the players that went around that time, oh my goodness, man. And I think you're right about Laviska. Laviska is a limited player. His ceiling, you can see what his ceiling is. I mean, can somebody get production out of him? Absolutely, of course, you can get production out of him. But what you're going to get from him, from what was expected of him here, he was expected to be not necessarily, maybe not a number one dominating guy, but he was expected to be at the very least a number 2 receiver, and he's not that here. And he struggled to play slot, a number 3 receiver. So, I mean, it is what it is. But once again, it shows you why this team is where it is. Drafting has been terrible. Drafting has been awful. Jacksonville hasn't had horrific coaching over the last 15 years. Outside of who shall not be named, in his 11-game stint. Outside of that guy, you haven't had horrific coaching. You've had middle of the pack to sometimes above average coaching. But what's been consistent is the talent on the roster and the drafting. The drafting has been subpar. David Caldwell, all of his stuff with his drafting, it came to a head because he was able to pair free agents with who he drafted. Now, I will say he was able to hit outside of the first round. David Caldwell was able to get those late round gems. He was money, but you have to be money in the first round, because if you miss in the first round, it sets your franchise back because you're investing a ton of assets into this player.
Yeah,
and it's just what it is.
And the biggest thing when you say setting the franchise back, you're not getting the value back in return. You can't make that. You can't make the mistake up with a 6th round pick. You go from 2nd round to 6th round, and you just can't make that up. And it's going on again. I feel, and maybe people disagree with me on this podcast, but I do not see Chason as being an impactful player. He plays hard. He practices hard. He wants to do well, but I just
let me give you 2 names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let me give you 2 names: Jameer Jones and Deshaun Dixon. I thought both of them. That's number 40 and number 47. I thought both of them played well enough for you to get him up out of here. The only reason I think Chason is here at the watching those 2 play, it's because he was a 1st round pick.
That's it.
Having 1st round pick attached to your name does have value. You do hold some type of weight. When you are a high draft pick, you do hold weight. That's just what it is. So, but real quick, let me ask you. So, do you buy into these rumors about the Cowboys being interested in Walker Little?
Yeah, I do. I buy into the fact that I believe there's been some phone calls from the Cowboys inquiring, are you guys what would it take for us? Would you be interested in moving them? Because let's get something straight, Brandon. Walker Little had an opportunity, and he fumbled it like a football. Even when Jawan Taylor got hurt early in training camp, they practically gave him that job. I won't say it as illicit as that, but he had an opportunity to win the job, and he didn't. And the problem is he's got physical talents, big, strong kid, good, quick feet, he's got great feet, quick feet, got great technique, not all the time. But the problem with Walker Little is it's almost like you have to press a button for him to play physical. You might get it on a Tuesday at practice. You may see a little bit of it on Wednesday at practice, but by the time Friday and Saturday and Sunday come, it's gone. You have to wait till Tuesday to get it again. And you cannot be a starter, particularly at right tackle or left tackle, where you inconsistent with your physical play. Because if you go back, particularly in the Pittsburgh game, I know, Watt is a great defensive end, but you got to fight better than that. You got to give a better fight. You got to get physical and state your, hold your ground. And he didn't hold his ground at all. He lost his job. And it just, the fact is he's inconsistent. But Dallas got problems on the offensive line. They're not just looking for a Walker Little type for this season. They see in the Dallas Cowboys' eyes, they see a Walker Little potential. They're looking down the road. They say we could groom this kid. We can make him a better player. We got time. We don't have to have all the pressure on him, and they see something like a cornerstone for the future. Even if he doesn't start, even if he have to sit, and learn and, get his techniques and all that, they willing to wait on that. And, there's a difference between Dallas and there's a difference with Jacksonville. Dallas is on that threshold. They're a playoff contending team. And they don't have to rush or walk a little on the field. They could bide some time, even if they are, struggling with the offensive line. But here in Jacksonville, we don't have that luxury, man. You have to have a guy in the second. And here we go again. We go back to a second round pick. I know that he's only in his second year, but you have to, man. This is the time you got to show you deserving of that, being that high of a pick in the second year. It's the same with Trevor Lawrence. If Trevor Lawrence don't have better numbers than he did as a rookie, then it's going to be a long season. And that's in the same with a guy like Walker Little, man. You can't squander the opportunity. The opportunity was that they wanted him to be a starter. They wasn't going to give him the job. They put pressure on Jawan Taylor, and Jawan won out because actually, I'll just say that Jawan wanted it more than Walker Little, and he did everything.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
that's what I heard. Once Jawan Taylor saw the writing on the wall, and saw what they were doing, kind of like promoting Walker Little, it said lit a fire under Jawan Taylor.
Yeah,
and then you don't move on from Walker Little unless the Cowboys, want to give you something egregious, unless they want to part ways something egregious, because Walker Little's not costing you much money. And you don't have good backups right now. The only way you move on from him is they're gonna give you something that's worth more than what Walker Little is. That's the only way. Outside of that, Walker Little stays a Jaguar because most likely he's in the running to start at tackle next year because Jawan Taylor is most likely playing his last year in Jacksonville. I can't really see a scenario where he plays so well that they use the franchise tag or they re-up him with a new contract. Don't really see that. So, but let me get a couple of these comments. What up, Ness, George, Elijah, Kassan? What's going on? You say, Ness say, oh man, I like Visca. Oh, come on, George. George talking about he gonna make it to the playoffs before the Jags make it. Of course he's gonna say that. Yeah, of course. Carolina. With Carolina, yeah. Nah, not in the NFC, dog. It's tough. It's tougher in the AFC. But dude, the Carolina is not a playoff team. See, Jag always up. We should have kept my boy Visca. Man, hey, as they nicknamed him on Twitter, him Jones was balling. So I don't know how he wasn't getting back. He's below Tim Jones now. If we rolling wide receivers out against Washington, Tim Jones is on the above Laviska on the depth chart. Easy. He said, we Carolina Panthers, thank you very much. Jaguars on the trade for pennies. Yeah, and it was definitely pennies for certain. Say, Ness say we stuck with Chase on.
Yep.
You talking about you was right about sorry Lawrence. Oh, come on, man. Elijah, come on, man. give Lawrence his time. He's a quarterback, man. Let the man develop. And he had one of the worst situations. He was drafted into the worst situation outside of the Jets. Let's be honest about it. Mac Jones probably went to the best in the Patriots, but Trevor Lawrence got the worst possible situation he could have got into outside of going to the Jets. So let's just be real. Don't act like we a playoff team and we some story blue chip franchise and Trevor came here to stunk it up for us. No. If anything, we're holding Trevor back. If we're going to make that case, then. And I'm a Jaguar fan.
Well, I say this, Brandon. If the Jaguars keep this backup center, and I say his number, if the people don't know his name, it's number 60. His name is Darrell Williams. If this guy have to get in the game, if Luke Falk, somebody get injured, and this guy makes the roster, if he makes the 53, and you got to rely on him if somebody get hurt, we in trouble. We in big time trouble.
Yeah. Hey, Trevor's getting hurt. Okay.
Yeah.
We talking about season-ending hurt. That's how hurt he's going to be because, dude, that dude got folded up by fourth and fifth string defensive tackles.
I'm going to make this prediction, man. If this guy don't get cut tomorrow by 4:00, we need to just sign him and say, just take us and sign us. We could do a better job than what this guy can do.
Man, dude, I was watching that.
No,
I'm like, they was in EJ. They were in EJ Perry lap before he could even think about anything. Say, we Carolina will make the playoffs this year. In my Charles Barkley voice, I guarantee. So he guaranteed they gonna make the playoffs. Baker Mayfield take y'all to the playoffs. Okay,
man. And what they gonna finish ahead of who? That they gonna be the second place team? Dude, I don't think they're better than.
You're not. You gonna finish third in your division because I can see y'all being better than Atlanta. Of course, Atlanta's in transition, but y'all gonna finish third in the division behind the Saints and the Bucks. So I don't know about that. Hey, somebody agree with you on Darrell Williams. He is horrible.
Man, that's all I saw. I saw this guy get beat during the springtime, during the all-season work condition when you didn't even have to have contact. You supposed to just hold your block, and he couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So no, I predict this. He won't be on the 53-man roster.
Yeah. Now we talked about two. I seen two guys got cut. Was a surprise. One we talked about was Laquan Treadwell. I was surprised Laquan Treadwell got cut, but also surprised to me was Rudy Ford because of his special teams prowess. I was surprised by that.
Yeah, me too. I like him as a player. They played him in the he was at a nickel last year and played well.
Yeah, he played well.
He's a guy that can play safety and he can play an inside cornerback. But I think he got caught up in a numbers game. I think he's got caught up with that. They got a whole lot of depth in the secondary. They have their four safeties, so he couldn't get much reps at the backup role at the safety or at a nickel. And I don't understand the Treadwell cut. I mean, I think the guy should be on the roster. I think he's value at a special teams guy. I think he's a tall receiver, which you don't have many of. I think he's a guy you have in the game on third down and see what he can do, on a short yardage situation on the goal line. I thought he performed well in the games that I saw. So I don't understand that. I mean, I know that you got Tim Jones, Askew, but I wouldn't have seen nothing wrong in having 6 receivers and maybe just 3 running backs if they're going to keep 4. But
I've seen where this must mean that they're going to search for a receiver on the waiver wire. I mean, that's what it sounds like to me, because I would say that they were going to keep 6 wide receivers. I would imagine that they would keep 6 wide receivers. One of the things was I was listening to 1010 and they were talking about because CJ Beathard is still hurt, and they probably it's a numbers thing too, because you don't want to go into the Washington game and CJ Beathard is hurt and something happens to Trevor Lawrence. You don't want to take that risk. So and then you got to keep EJ Perry, because EJ Perry is going to be on the practice squad. No team's going to sign him because then they have to put him on the active roster. But you're going to have to keep him active until CJ Beathard can at least go against Washington if he had to.
Yeah, and I agree with what Elijah White said.
What did he say? He said, "So why do you still have Trey and the guys straight ever since Ramsey? We've been having bad luck with the corner position." Yeah. He said, "Now if we play bad this year, we can't make excuses for Lawrence." Well, we don't exactly have a juggernaut. That old line is still a cause for concern, but he's going to be better this year. I have no doubt. And Kassan say Tom not making it a season, he gonna retire with that old line. They dropping like flies. I have noticed that, dude. It seemed like at least every other day or so, I hear about a Bucks lineman having a significant injury.
Well, they done lost 2 centers. The backup center hurt. The starting center hurt. And
Jensen hurt. Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Treadwell. Yeah.
But back to Trey Herndon.
Yeah.
I think he's a I mean, he's a guy that works his tail off. I think he tries hard, and that's putting it lightly. But he don't have the speed, man. You got to have speed in this league. There's no substitute for speed. You got to have it. And when you don't have it, that's when teams scheme against you. When we talked about this all last season, Dewey will knock your head off, but he's too slow to cover a tight end. You go back to the Cincinnati game, and that's exactly what they did. And I think any team see Trey Herndon at nickel, they're going to scheme against him. They're going to put the fast guy on him, and they're going to get a step on him, and he's going to give up a big play. I saw it in the Pittsburgh game. You know, Clay Brooks.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what this football team can't have, man. You cannot have liabilities. You know, either you're going to give a slow corner safety help or you're going to get beat. So I don't think they got I think Mike Caldwell is a defensive coordinator that recognizes that. And I think they'll play zone or something to help someone that doesn't have the speed to keep up with these speed receivers. You will never see this team this year. This is my prediction. Mm-hmm. You will never see this team play defense the way they played against Seattle. You won't see that. Not this season. Mm-hmm. You'll never see a guy get picked apart and won't get help. You know, they did a number on Campbell in that game. And I feel that anything happened with this defensive coordinator and the way this defensive play, that they'll come up with a scheme or they'll come up with some type of help coverage that they would never allow anyone, including Tyson. Tyson Campbell, I feel, done got 3 times better now than what he was at that point last year.
Confidence is through the roof.
Yeah, confidence through the roof. He had a solid camp. He's big and physical. He's using all that big and physical on the receivers. He's not stepping back 20 yards and all that kind of stuff. And but if he goes back to the way he played in that Seattle game, I think with this defensive coordinator, you will not see anybody in that secondary get isolated without having help with the safeties or somebody coming over to help. And that's the difference in a great coaching staff, a great defensive mind, that they can figure out schemes. And I think that's the benefit of this coaching staff from the one last year. I think they're not going to get out schemed, or they're not going to get, you know, you're not going to have Dewey out there on the field on a 3rd long. You know, they're not going to do it. He might be on the field on a first and 5 or 1st and 4, but you have to know your personnel. And I think this coaching staff, and I think that's been one of the problems in Jacksonville, that they haven't found. I mean, they just haven't put their guys in the right position to make plays, and then you have the wrong guys on the field giving up big plays, and then they still on the field after they done gave up a big play or 2, and you can't win like that, you know. So
yeah, absolutely. So he said, what gives me a little peace of mind is we get pressure with our front 4D linemen. That's a good sign. Yeah, that does give me peace of mind that it's going to be a lot of hurried throws. Yeah, you know, so the back end, they don't have to be all world. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times where you've had really good defenses who've had okay guys on the back end, and they were able to dominate games, man. It's just, you know, it's what it is. I mean, think about the Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City Chiefs haven't had a juggernaut on defense. They don't shoot since Patrick Mahomes has been a starter, even going back to Alex Smith. But there are times what they've had great defensive line play. Chris Jones is a monster. We saw him up close and personal when he obliterated Nick Foles' collarbone. Mm-hmm. So you got great defensive line play. You can get pressure with just 4. It's going to be a good season, man. And Elijah said, I like to see who's going to stop Derrick Henry. Definitely not Trey. Well, that's why you signed Lua Khan, you drafted Devin Lloyd, and you signed Fadakasi. I mean, that's why you brought those guys in.
Yeah. That's why you basically change your linebacker room and you got these young guys who get after it. And another thing I like, Brandon, I think we talked about it last year. I looked at a little bit of it even in that Atlanta game. The one thing that I see different on defense, the Jags are initiating the contact. They're not sitting back. Even the backups, I even watched the backups. Yeah. The backups come in, and off that defensive front, they are initiating the contact on the offensive line, not the other way around. We're not seeing guys getting knocked back. They're going forward, and that's a testament of what kind of I have no issue with the depth that they have on that front seven. You bring whoever you bring in, I don't think you have a drop off. I think you take Devon Hamilton out and put someone else in. I don't think you got too much to worry about. I watched that the little bit that Devin Lloyd was in the game, and I mean his pursuit is excellent.
Yeah.
He knows
sideline to
sideline. And even when he's blocked, the one thing I watched on him in that game was even when he was blocked, I mean, he had a blocker right on him. He still found a way to slide to make that play, to get, whether as long as he got an arm or a hand or something on there to stop that ball carrier, he's done his job. He didn't make the initial contact, but he was on the play after a guy right in front of him blocking them to try to move him out the way, and he held his ground. That's what a linebacker does, and this guy is a strong, tight linebacker. You're not going to see him get blocked out of plays, and he's going to make more plays than he not make them. And I was impressed for the little bit that I saw in him, especially on that play he made on the sideline. He got off the pursuit and just you taking advantage of his natural ability, which is he's quick, he's physical, and he got around it. The running back couldn't get around the edge. And that's what you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Elijah say, I wish we could sign AB. Hey, that's why I did that. Put that on. Hey, if the baggage didn't outweigh his talent at this point, I would be all for it. But his baggage just outweighs his talent, man. And he's talented. He's talented. If he plays today, if he suits up for a team today, he's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
Easy. But you know what, man? The biggest the biggest problem with this guy, I think he get along with teammates. Some people say, well, you don't get along with anybody. I don't think that if he came to Jacksonville, it wouldn't be a problem that he would get along with Trevor Lawrence. He would get along with the receivers. The biggest problem is with him, all of the attention. He'll suck up all the attention, even when it's not warranted. Even if, he would be the one guy that there's a bad report out that he did this in this place or did this and that. And he takes the attention away from the team. But talent-wise, man, boy, they could use a AB to go deep and catch.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, let's see. Son Carter say to beat the Chiefs, you got to outscore them and get a turnover to contain Mahomes. Yeah, I think the recipe for how you beat them is out there. It's just that everybody can't do it. Just what it is. I would love to see our offense match up with our defense. Yeah, if the offense could get on the same level as the defense or what the defense looked like it's going to be, it's going to be pretty good. But the defense has hogs. Offense. Their hogs are limited. Let's say that. Their hogs are limited.
The defense has the depth, and the offensive line doesn't have the depth. The depth is on the front seven of the defense and the offensive line. If they get any one of those starters hurt on the offensive line, we're in trouble. And no doubt about it. All you got to do watch the game. Watch the game against Atlanta. They got beat bad.
Yeah. by fourth and fifth. By fourth and fifth string linemen.
Yeah, they got manhandle out there, to be honest.
Say Trevor Lawrence is good in the red zone. Their play calling wasn't great in the red zone.
Yeah.
Now it was vanilla play calling. I want to see better play calling in the regular season, but their play calling wasn't great. I don't think Trevor's execution. I know he missed in the red zone. He missed who's it? Evan Ingram. He missed Evan Ingram for a touchdown in the red zone in the I think it was the Cleveland game. But other than that, the play calling has not been great in the red zone. I mean, it's just what it is. But hopefully it's better.
Yeah. Well, they got to do things to you got to do things, put guy in motion, do some play action, rollouts. Hell, I'd even take an outside pitch sweeps and just have the whole line run to one side. But you're right. They got to do a lot more just to kind of keep the defense off balance when they get in the red zone. It can't just drop back and have Trevor drop back and they running practically the same plays that they would run on a 2nd and 4 from the 40. You got to come up with some schemes that even if you do a long snap count and draw them offside, but you got to do something different once you get in the red zone. It just can't be, okay, we're giving a handoff to Snoop Conner and let's hope that he can get 2-3 yards and continue that. I'm almost to the point. I'm concerned about red zone. I don't think there's something that you just can say, preseason. It's a problem that's going on for 3 years. Another problem I think they got to, get to make a change is they got to score more points. I know the starters wasn't out there, but for the limited time that the starters played, I didn't see a lot of home run shots. I mean, they got to score. You got to put up points in this league. You can't be a team that's averaging under 15 points a game.
Yeah, you can't. Manhurst. No, I didn't see Manhurst get cut, so Manhurst still has a job. Now I would wonder if he would keep if they were able to pick up a decent pass catching tight end who could at least act like he wants to block. Manhurst is out of here. Yeah. So the Manhurst not get cut so fast. So man,
get you something.
we gonna leave it right there.
Yep. Go ahead.
And you had anything else on the Jags before we get through? Because we gotta go. We got an hour left, so we're gonna go rapid fire on the rest of our topics. We ain't got too many other topics, and then we're gonna get on up out of here. But anything left on the Jaguars?
Well, I mean, it's like the season is upon us. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of I think there's a lot of expectations. There's been expectations since Doug Peterson got here as the new coach. I like the defense. I'm sure I'm like the majority of the people in Jacksonville. The defense is ahead of the offense. And I would say this, like I said before we came on, they have to make sure that they scan that waiver wire tomorrow. They got first claim on anyone get cut. They get the first claim. And you can't hold on to guys just because there's no loyalty in this league. If you see someone on one of these teams, especially one of the ones that's playoff contending teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Chargers, or somebody like that, you have to go out and address your depth on your offensive line. I would like to get a receiver. I mean, I know they got 5 on the roster or whatever they're doing, and that everybody talking about Tim Jones and all that. But if you have a big name receiver who just lost out on the spot, maybe even the Dolphins, I don't know who, but if it's they're only keeping 5 and they don't have room for a 6, and he's speedy, tall, and can catch, I will go and get that claim and get somebody in here with some experience and with speed that can go down the field with Lawrence and make those catches on those fly patterns. But my biggest concern with this team is their depth. It was it was noticeable during the preseason that they do not have enough quality depth to compete with the Titans or the Colts, to be honest. If somebody goes down, I mean, you know, Brandon, this is a 17-game season. Been a 17-game season for the last 2 years. And even when you look at the receivers, you look at the running backs, you look at the offensive line, you're going to have injuries, particularly on those three positions. And you have to have people who can come in, you know, and be able to make plays. And I just don't think, personally, I don't think they have enough playmakers. I like what I see and Zay Jones and Christian Kirk and Marvin Jones. I like them. You know, they're going to start. But if I can add something else as a weapon, just a weapon, then if it's available through this waiver wire, you know, I'm talking about the good teams. I'm not talking about the Houston Texans, you know, getting rid of their seventh receiver when they're only keeping six. I'm talking about somebody that's winning, like the Chiefs and those high, you know, those explosive offensives in that AFC West. If they got a good receiver that just didn't make the roster because of the numbers, I would look at that. And I would look at whoever got veteran offensive linemen. I would probably pluck about two of them if I have to. If I have to get a center on the waiver wire, because what they got right now, unless they're going to move Tyler Shatley back to center, they do not have depth. And you cannot. I know Luke Fulton is a good young, you know, he's young, you know, he's a draft pick, but if be on the safe side, you got to have a veteran to back him up. You know, this kid is playing a 17-game season for the first time. He looked like he's going to be starting for the first time. And I think you need a veteran behind him. And if it's Tyler Shatley, that's good. But I think they have to address their needs. And if you got a good player that's getting waived because of numbers and, you know, whatever it might be, don't hesitate to add talent to your roster. It may not fit with, you know, the Chiefs, but it would fit here, and that's what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. He said, Kassan, that's what we talking about next, Kassan. He said, Aaron Donald surprised he not suspended with that brawl in practice, swinging helmets. Yeah, they say he was out there playing whack-a-mole. He said, I like the shout out to Elijah, man. He said, I like this page. I will tune in more often.
All right.
Appreciate that. He said they need to bring back Robinson. Allen Robinson, yeah, he talked about coming back here, but he wouldn't chase that money in LA. He trying to get him a ring, you know. And at least he finally has a good quarterback. Like, I don't think you understand. Allen Robinson has never played with a good quarterback. This will be his first year playing with an actual good quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Crazy as that sound.
Yeah. I agree with his statement, what he said about, I wish this team was built like the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you hope Balky does. You hope Balky builds us like the 49ers. So that's what you hope, but, you know, man, we'll see. But, man, we're going to move on from there. Jacksonville got Washington, which I think they could beat Washington. I think it'll be a good test, especially for this defense. But I think they get Washington. But, man, let's check out this footage from Bengals Rams joint practice, and Aaron Donald was out here throwing haymakers with helmets.
They're all fighting.
Yo, he is swinging that helmet.
Yeah, he could have hurt somebody seriously on that first whack.
Yeah.
That would have flag. What the hell's that gonna do?
I know, dude. Yo, he baited him. Did you guys see the beginning?
They're all fighting.
Watch it right there. Wow. Boom. Them first three swings.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised the helmet didn't break on that.
Yeah. It's a close-up photo, of when the helmet landed. Somebody got a photo of when the helmet landed and hit the Bengals player in the helmet, and you could see the helmet collapse from the force of him hitting the guy in the head with the helmet. I've never seen the helmet squish down like that. And I mean, the force from it, it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's boy. That puts him out in the hospital, that boy.
Yeah.
On another thing, man, where do the Bengals look like they in the middle of a park?
Yeah.
What is that in the background? They practice on the field next to the warehouse, or
I don't know where that is.
Man, it look like they got a roller coaster ride back there in the back, man. That's like good. And then the goalposts look crooked.
Yeah. I don't know where this is.
Ooh, Lord, look like
They were saying the NFL don't have jurisdiction over joint practices, so they can't suspend him.
Yeah, but the Rams can. But
they say the Rams can, but the Rams, what? Come on, you think the Rams gonna give him any significant punishment? They're not going to give him any significant punishment. I mean,
they might fine him $20, but boy,
yeah, something like that. I'm surprised Bengals players didn't commence the stomping on him, old-fashioned beatdown. Well, they didn't want to go into a melee,
Yeah.
And possibly because even with that, yeah, you mad.
All right, that has to go. All right, man. I'll be taking shots at the Trojans.
You talking about they look like they're in Reebok field. Oh man, come on, Ness.
Man, look like they're at Grand Park field or somewhere.
That look like Grand Park, don't it?
Yeah, man. They either that or they off of Talleyrand. So look like they're out east somewhere.
What up, Paxton? I wish Jalen Ramsey ain't coming back here, man. We can hang that one up.
Man,
that's a pipe dream.
Did you see that new photograph they got Jalen? He up there high on the top of the stadium thing?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I saw that today, man. He's like on top, and he's on like top of the stadium pylon or something.
Yeah, but people talking about this, and and Aaron Donald, he's not known as a hothead. Anytime he's been in skirmishes, whatever, it seems that he's had a legit beef or legit issue. But somebody pointed this out. Look at this. No, okay, not that. That's it. Yeah, seven straight seasons on the countdown. Yeah, that's the good part. But no, we talking about. Let's see, where did it go? Oh man, I lost. Oh, it must be deleted because I lost it. Oh man, I lost it. But it's a couple different photos. Oh, here it is right here. This one right here. He's talking about, I can't believe Aaron Donald will rip off another player's helmet and attack him with it. Also, Aaron Donald. I remember all of these. I remember when he went after the Packers lineman. I remember he dude from the 49ers. Look at him, dude, with the Cardinals. Dude, he's still smiling. Dude, I'm like, dude, you got both them bell claws around your neck, and you got your pearly whites all the way out your skull.
He's smiling so Aaron can take his hands off his neck. I guess that's the next best thing to crying.
Yeah. Man, let's see. He say Cashapp say just needed one star. The Bengals don't have any dogs on the team to take one for the cause. Well, hey, it is what it is, man.
And I saw some Bengal linemen, man. They like standing in the background. They say, I ain't getting mixed up in this one.
Yeah, they were standing around. They weren't. I didn't see them. They weren't. They weren't jumping in and all of that. Man, them dudes were like, they were all looking like, man, that's Aaron Donald. Hey, maybe some of them was like, hey, that's Aaron Donald. I ain't getting involved.
Yeah. Aaron Donald should be the number one player in the league, man. Through the, NFL Network 100, he should be number one, not Tom Brady.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Aaron Donald. Hey, you can make an argument that Aaron Donald is the best player in this entire league.
Yep.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. But yeah, we're gonna leave that right there. We're gonna get into Mr. Junior Galette. I hadn't heard that name in forever. I saw it come across my Twitter feed. They say Junior Galette suing the NFL for $300 million. I say, man. So it said Junior Galette files $300 million lawsuit against the NFL, NFLPA, and Roger Goodell. See, there are at least 2 Florida citizens who are representing themselves in legal matters this week. Former NFL defensive end Junior Galette has from time to time on social media and possibly elsewhere complained that he has been blackballed from pro football. On Tuesday, he took steps to prove his claims. In a 21-page lawsuit filed in the U.S. District Court for Southern District of Florida, Galette sued the league, the NFL Players Association, Commissioner Roger Goodell, and several teams: Seahawks, Rams, Raiders, Browns, Chiefs, Panthers, and Commanders. Galette, who spent 8 years in NFL, represents himself. The complaint specifically contends that Galette has been blackballed, just like Colin Kaepernick, and put on the blacklist by the NFL owners for speaking out about alleged racial discrimination committed against him by the Commanders. Galette allegation of discrimination focuses on the disparity in the contract given to Trent Murphy and the deal offered to Galette in 2018. Galette alleges that based on the offer he received, he posted on Snapchat, "I swear to God, I'm not playing for no slave deals. I'll die before I play for more slave deals." Galette alleges that after making his statement on social media, he was unable to land an acceptable job with another NFL team. He contends, for example, that he visited the Raiders where Coach Jon Gruden allegedly told Galette that he is one of the best pass rushers I've ever seen, but all we have for you is the veterans minimum, $660K. Likewise, Galette claims he opted to sign for the veteran minimum with the Rams. Coach Sean McVay allegedly told Galette, "I can't wait for you to get here. You already know most of the guys were all fired up." Galette says that defensive assistant Joe Barry asked Galette to pick a jersey number. Then, per Galette, as he was preparing to practice, a staff member told him that there was a change of plans, that Galette was taken back to the airport. The lawsuit seeks $300 million in damages from the various defendants. The NFL declined to comment. Presumably, the league will argue that the claims should exclusively be resolved by the available devices under the collective bargaining agreement. That's the approach Kaepernick used. There's also a potential defense based on applicable statutes of limitations. While anyone and everyone has the right to represent themselves in court, this typically happens only after lawyer have declined to offer representation. It would have been a steep uphill battle with the lawyer without one. Galette will have a very hard time getting anywhere, either in court or in arbitration. And what this sounds like to me, I mean, okay, so let's just say there was some discrimination there. Even if there was some discrimination there, that's something that's going to be very, very hard to prove. He's not going to be able to prove this. I don't see what concrete evidence could he have. He has to have something very concrete. I mean, it's just like a home run. Can't miss. This is discrimination. But what this sounds like is a player who was probably, at the tail end of his career, who teams didn't think that he could give him anything. They was only going to give him the veterans minimum. Yeah, they said all these things about you. They said good things to you, but nobody was willing to pay you. After you left the Saints, you see Washington, you say it was a slave deal. You said they weren't going to give you much. And then the Raiders were only going to give you the veteran minimum, and the Rams are only going to give you the veteran minimum. So that was what your value was worth on the market. There's no way for you to prove discrimination past that point. But what this sounds like is, once again, sour grapes by Junior Galette. He needs to move on, because you're not going to get $300 million out of this lawsuit. That's absolutely, it's just egregious. But I get it. Set your mark high and get a settlement. If they settle with him, even if you do get any money out of this, they'll sign him off a little check, give him a little severance package, and they say, hey, go on somewhere with that and get him on out the way.
Well, Brandon, let me share something with you. When this knucklehead was in New Orleans, because I looked back and researched, and he was charged with domestic violence twice. He signed a $41 million contract, and the Saints gave up on him because a YouTube video came out in, I think, 2015, showing him on the video beating a woman with a belt on the beach after they got in the skirmish. That's what the Saints released him on. and 215 when that video came out, and it's probably still on YouTube. So this guy has a lot to be, a lot of this is his own fault, because he signed the extension with the Saints in 214, and 2 years later they released him. So it's bad decisions, bad choices, too much off the field stuff, and teams. you know how that league operates, man. It's just like once you do something like that, they literally will blackball you from the league. But this guy, you can't have YouTube videos on you. And even though he, even after New Orleans, he did extend his career. But a lot of the places he went to, it was still the off the field issues, the confrontations with the coach. And I'm shocked that this guy's still in the news, because he ain't played in about 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, now that you say that, this all makes sense now, because you're not getting anything out of this because of that right there, dude. Your baggage outweighed your talent. That's what this is about. Nobody's blackballing you. Teams didn't want to risk it. They say, man, why risk bringing in this guy who has these things where he's been charged with domestic violence twice, got video of him assaulting someone. Like, no, I'm not putting up with that. So this is just him. This is him because he's probably broke. That's
that's what it is. Or he want to get back to the lifestyle that he had once, in yesteryear. And now the bills are piling up. The money that he might have had left over from his last contract, where the money done dried up. And a lot of times this happens. I mean, you get used to a certain lifestyle, and you don't have the income coming in as a retired player. And, I just think this is a stretch, man, a bad stretch at that.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, I'm not a big proponent of this league. I do think this league blackball players. I do think that the players are held to a higher, just a higher punishment level than owners, which we discussed a week ago. But I also don't have a tolerance for people who've been given second and third and fourth chances, like a Junior Galette, and didn't take advantage of it, and got himself on YouTube, a $41 million contract that he basically wasted, off the field trouble. That's, to me, is just, hey, you blew your own opportunity, for his circumstances, because a team out is not going to give up on you the second year of a mega contract like that if you was handling your business. This guy was a great player, and he just never handled himself off the field. He had bar fights, and that little time that he was in New Orleans, there was bar fights. There were, all the domestic violence situations, arguments with coaches. And it's just that kind of, coaches tell you growing up, man, you got to carry yourself in a way that's, you have to be professional. You can't just be a maniac on the field and take it off the field. And this guy, when the money is dried up and your lifestyle that you've been used to for your playing days is gone, and nobody's talking about you no more, then I think I think he's just doing a desperate, this is an act of desperation in my opinion. And I wouldn't be shocked if that lawsuit just becomes frivolous and they just toss it out once it get to the court. But you have to handle your business, man. And Junior Galette did not handle his business when he was in the league and when he was out of the league.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think you said it best, man. We can leave it right there. You put the cherry on top of that right there, because hey, this is obvious to me what this is now. Now that I know, because I didn't know that about Junior Galette. I forgot all about that. That came and went. That was under the radar, you know.
Yeah.
So these are baseless claims, and he's most likely out of money, and I don't see this lawsuit going anywhere.
And
Man,
another thing about him is he just always lashes out on. You can't lash out when you have done wrong and they issuing punishment to you, and then you're lashing out that they did me wrong. That's some of the stuff he was talking about in New Orleans during his time. Like, he was basically didn't like Sean Payton. Sean Payton, was like, I think he said that he was just a guy that controlled too much in the organization. And he didn't like the fact that, it should not be him who issued the punishment since he's the head coach and that kind of thing. But, man, you can't have YouTube videos while you're a player. You don't even have to be a player. You can't have YouTube videos of you committing domestic violence and expect to keep your job. So,
right, absolutely. So, but we're gonna move on there. We're gonna stay in New Orleans, but we're gonna move to an active New Orleans Saints player, and that is Mr. Alvin Kamara. It's funny. I haven't heard much about this. This has been, I wouldn't say it's been kept hush hush, but there's been not much publicity on this. It hasn't been talked about much. See, anytime details of the story come out, they come and go. But so New Orleans Saints saw a lot of changes this offseason, but will they lose running back Alvin Kamara for some part of this season as well? Between losing critical contributors and safety Marcus Williams and Malcolm Jenkins, left tackle Teron Armstead, and continue to navigate life after Drew Brees and Sean Payton retired, the Saints have an uncertain future ahead. Kamara is at the top of the list as he is in limbo. Will the NFL suspend Kamara for his felony battery charge from the 2022 Pro Bowl weekend in Las Vegas? Here's everything we know so far. Will the NFL suspend Saints running back Alvin Kamara? It's becoming increasingly likely that Kamara will not face any discipline from his February arrest in Las Vegas until the 2023 season. The NFL tends to wait for players' legal process to play out before handing out a suspension. Kamara has yet to appear in court since his first arrest on February 6th at the 2022 Pro Bowl, and his legal team has won multiple delays for the initial hearings. The current date scheduled for his next court appearance is September 29th, just 3 days before the Saints' Week 4 game against the Minnesota at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. On top of receiving multiple delays for the hearing, Kamara and his legal team have indicated the running back plans to plead not guilty to the charges of battery resulting in bodily harm. While a suspension doesn't seem likely to come during the 2022 season, the NFL players' conduct policy does outline clear consequences for offenses of this nature. The standard has been a 6-game suspension, and NFL can levy it whether Kamara is found guilty or avoids all legal consequences. The Saints hope to shape the offense around Kamara's multifaceted game in 2022 after an abysmal 2021 campaign. Between quarterback Jameis Winston's return under center and the front office's investment in the wide receiver group, the Saints are going all in at another attempt to stave off a rebuild. Let's see. While losing Williams and Jenkins will hurt a bit, the defense is still as stout as ever. They need support from the offense. The New Orleans faces an intimidating run-up games in the middle of the season, but they could surprise some teams and sneak into a wild card spot. Getting Kamara going on offense will be crucial to any run the Saints try to make with how long the legal proceedings are taking. New Orleans won't have to worry about Kamara being suspended anytime soon. So I figured that because I hadn't heard much about it, is that you won't hear he must not be getting suspended anytime soon. And one of the things I heard when this story came back up was Tony Busby, the guy who represented the women who went after Deshaun Watson. He picked this case up, and now he's representing the man who was supposedly assaulted by Alvin Kamara. And you said this previously. This had to be in our early shows where you talked about teams, the Pro Bowl being in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you say, and just a team being in Vegas, players being in Vegas, period. And you talked about the pitfalls Vegas brings.
Yeah.
And this is another example of it.
Yeah. And you look back though, Brandon, they done had a lot of issues, man. You go back to the car wreck and the DUIs. I mean, just to put names on the store, and it's just
Marshawn was in Vegas.
Yeah, he was in Vegas. And here's another one. You know, it's the league got itself. They got a lot. You know, I'm sure that franchise is making money. The stadium is beautiful. I would think that the Pro Bowl will be there for many, many years. It may never come back to Orlando, but you know, Sin City, it has a lot. You know, even back in the NBA, man, the NBA used to have an all-star. I think back in 06, they had the all-star game there, and it just, you know, it was some things that happened during that weekend in Vegas, you know, some crimes and accidents and all kind of stuff happened during that weekend. And it's just, the Vegas is Vegas, man. And you put franchises there, you know, players, you know, some players are going to be players. They're going to partake in what Vegas has to bring. And yes, it can be a distraction. You know, yes, it can be issues with, you know, somebody stepped on their foot in the club, or somebody spilled a drink on somebody in the club. And then you got, you know, it don't matter what city it is. You got some people who will start something with a NFL football player just because they're an NFL football player.
Yeah.
You know, they sit at the bar minding their own business, and somebody come up and approach him. And it's not just NFL. Charles Barkley got in a lot of barroom fights because of somebody approaching him and saying, you ain't all that. And it went from there to that. And I think, you know, when you look at Vegas and the potential of all that kind of stuff happening, the league got they got their hands full having that franchise in Vegas. No matter what, the beautiful stadium. I think the Raiders are probably more stabilized now than probably they've been in the last 10 years or more. Being with the franchise moving to Las Vegas, and they charging for seat licenses and everything inside the stadium. But it is Sin City. It is, you know, you go back to even the great boxing fights and Tupac. It's just a city that breeds trouble also. And that might have been one of the reasons why it took a long time for a major league, you know, sports league to put a franchise there in that city, just because of all of the other things outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right about those guys just being an NFL player. I mean, you're a walking target. I mean, look at Brian Robinson, the Commanders running back, who was shot multiple times in a robbery attempt.
Yeah.
You know, so the guys have to be careful, man. Guys are going to try you just because you Alvin Kamara, just because they know. And then don't forget about the people looking for a payday.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the people trying to rile you up because they know they're going to sue you. They're going to come after you civilly, and they trying to get a payday. So you have to protect yourself at all times. Man.
Yeah, at
all times,
especially in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, man, but we're going to leave it right there. We're going to get on to Mr. Jon Gruden. So, Jon Gruden, the NFL now claims Jon Gruden sent derogatory emails while serving as the Raiders coach. So, when it comes to keeping all legal claims in its secret rigged kangaroo court, the NFL will go to great lengths. Usually that means appealing to the highest courts in the land in any and all rulings, defeating the league's effort to push cases to arbitration. In the lawsuit filed against the NFL and Commissioner Roger Goodell by former Raiders coach Jon Gruden, the appeal process has yet to begin. The clock for filing an appeal won't even start to run until a final written order is entered regarding the ruling that the case should stay in court. And as the two sides haggle over what the formal document denying the NFL's effort to compel arbitration should and shouldn't say, the NFL has said something very significant. Via David Charles of CBS 8 in Las Vegas, the league has suggested that Gruden potentially habit of sending derogatory emails wasn't confined to the over-the-top messages sent to former Washington executive Bruce Allen in 2011, when Gruden wasn't employed by any NFL team. In a court filing submitted last week, the NFL's lawyers questioned the accuracy of the proposed order submitted by Gruden's representatives. In several places, Gruden's proposed order states that the emails were sent between 2011 and 2018, during which time Gruden was not working as a coach at NFL, but as an employee of ESPN. The league's lawyers wrote, Gruden claims and purported finding of effect on timing of his email is in reality very much disputed by the NFL parties and in fact false. Discovery necessary to make any findings of fact on the issue will show that Gruden continued to send the same kinds of derogatory emails consistently following his start date with the Raiders. This means that the league believes or already knows that Gruden sent problematic emails not only while he worked for no NFL team, but also after he returned to the Raiders in 2018. Gruden's lawyers argue that the league has blown its window to bolster a failed argument that the case should be resolved in arbitration by arguing that Gruden also sent derogatory emails after joining the Raiders. The NFL did not make these unsubstantiated arguments in the motions they already lost and will not be able to make them if they appeal. Gruden's attorney, Adam Holzmer-Henner, said in a statement issued on Monday, in fact, their own attorney conceded during the hearing that the emails were sent before Jon Gruden signed with the Raiders. In other words, it's too late for the NFL to support the argument that the case should be sent to arbitration by pointing out that Gruden sent derogatory emails after returning to coach the Raiders. It's possible that the NFL didn't find the emails until after the court issued a verbal ruling in May that the case should not be sent to arbitration. It is also possible, if not likely, that the league hopes to utilize this specific process to further smear Gruden in a semi-legitimate way. Gruden lawsuit arises from the fact that someone leaked the emails he sent to Allen when Gruden was working for ESPN. If someone were to leak emails Gruden sent while working for the Raiders, a new lawsuit would be filed, or at minimum, the current lawsuit would be expanded. But this part of the defense lawyer playbook in civil cases, even though Gruden's ouster had nothing to do with any emails he sent while working for the Raiders, the scorched earth effort to win the case and to make him regret even bringing it includes looking for anything that can be used to make him look bad. And if it can show that Gruden sent similarly problematic emails while working for the Raiders, that definitely will make him look bad. If the case ends up in arbitration, chances are those emails will never see the light of day. If the case remains in court, those emails will likely become a cornerstone of the league's defense under the chunky title of after acquired evidence. The argument goes like this. After the plaintiff sued us, we started looking for any and all dirt that we could find. And here it is, our after acquired evidence, more commonly known as F around and find out. So this is what this sounds like to me. It's just the NFL going at Gruden and trying to discredit him in any possible way. You know, and one of the things they wanted to do was they wanted to take this to arbitration because they wanted to handle this in-house in their kangaroo court, which we know is all types of messed up. I don't trust anything coming out of NFL arbitration where they do their own investigations. We've seen what happens when they do their own investigation. It's poor at best. Yeah. It really is. I don't trust anything, any findings they have coming out and what they say, or we investigated this. I want a private team, a separate team who's not paid by NFL owners and got NFL owner money in their pocket to do the investigation. I'm not trusting the NFL with any of this. But once again, this is another chance to smear Jon Gruden.
Yeah, I agree. And those are the areas where you spelled out there that the NFL has to do a better job on. Even if you go back to Deshaun Watson, if you initially agreed that the arbitrator or the judge was going to issue a verdict and you're going to abide by the rules, then you that's what's written. It should have been done the first one. It shouldn't have to go to a second arbitrator because the commissioner didn't think the punishment was harsh. That's almost like, to me, you penalizing him twice for the same crime. You know? Yeah. And you can't take public perceptions and then value what the conscience of the public is after the decision was rendered. You know, it's like if you decided that this is going to be your arbitrator and whatever her decision is going to stand, then that should have been it, in my opinion. And it's like, don't change because public perception is one thing, and you're just reacting. So you won't, well, we don't want to lose any fans. Maybe we add 4 more games to it so we could basically pacify our audience. And that's not the way you conduct business in a league, man. And the one problem that I have is that the NFL Players Association has to be more conducive to the players. You can't just have a Players Association and they bow down to the league. I think the Players Association and the commissioner's office are too close. There's too close a cooperation between the two, and the players are not getting the representation that they should from their union because of the relationship between the commissioner's office and the NFLPA, and that's got to change because even when you look back on some of the things that they have agreed upon in their collective bargaining agreement, the players should have been pushing for guaranteed deals or just getting more guaranteed money beyond the signing bonus. They should have been pushing by the union probably 3-4 years ago. It shouldn't have took Cousins, the quarterback for the Vikings, get this whole contract deal fully guaranteed, that basically triggered some escalation of guaranteed money in contracts. I mean, it shouldn't take one quarterback to get that type of contract, Yeah. And when you're a union, you got to fight for your union members. You can't like cave in the pressure by the ownership, which I think this union has done a lot over the last couple of years. So there are some problems. They're a multi-billionaire corporation, but there are some problems, complex problems in this league that got to get fixed, and fixed in a hurry.
Yeah, and this is an example right here. So Forbes put out an article say NFL teams values 2022. Dallas Cowboys are the first franchise worth $8 billion. So Matt Schaub, former quarterback, played for the Falcons, played for the Texans. He says since the 2011 CBA was signed, the value of average NFL teams has gone from $1 billion to $4.46 billion. Owners' wealth has more than quadrupled. Meanwhile, players' salaries haven't even doubled, and we don't have lifetime health care. Hashtag empower the players.
Yeah.
But the problem with this is I get this Matt Schaub, and he talk about him. He says empower the players, but you have a bunch of players who just simply don't care, especially the ones playing today. And I retweeted and I said, look, you had over almost 1,000 players not vote on the current CBA that's in place, but you got to smoke weed though.
Yeah,
that's all you cared about.
Yeah, that stuff there got to change, man. You got to have the betterment of the league, and these guys got to start looking beyond themselves. They got to start looking at you setting a path for the future players coming into the league, and you're not setting them up for anything, basically.
Absolutely.
It's a problem.
It's amazing. The most profitable game, and y'all ain't even dude. It's Major League Baseball players that make more money than the top players in the NFL. And if he was walking down the street, you wouldn't know who it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy to me.
But you know what? Baseball, for all its faults, have had a lot over the years, 20-so years, that their players union has been the strongest out of any professional sports league in the world, because they're not afraid. They're not afraid to ownership. If the owners start threatening that they're going to have a lockout, the players don't wilt. Their players, okay, well, we'll stand united. And then those owners are the one that blink because they don't want to lose that money. And the same thing got to happen in the NFL. Too often, the NFL players blink. They feel that check is going to be missed, and they don't, oh, well, we probably need to rethink this. And then they go back and negotiate, and then they change it. They scared to go on a strike or miss their paycheck. And I used to think the NBA players were the same, but they did go on a strike in, what year was that? 2012, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Shoot, wasn't it? It was it earlier this year or late last year? They were talking about a potential lockout as well.
Mm-hmm.
Players seemed ready to walk.
Yeah, this year. And I think they got another negotiation coming up, I believe. But they definitely went on strike. What year was that? That was 2011. They went on strike until December. They missed all of the training camp, and they had like a 40-game season that started like in December of 2011. But they wasn't afraid to go on strike. I feel these NFL players, they're afraid to go on strike.
Right.
Right. Man,
yeah, because you think about what the low man on the totem pole in the NFL makes. He's not making much money. Practice squad players, guys on the bottom of the roster, they're like, man, I can't afford to do this. But that's where your union comes in. That's where the Players Association comes in. That's where you put things in place for those players. So when you do have a lockout, these guys won't go broke, won't go starving, and they won't be so desperate to get back on the field because you guys are trying to get something accomplished. Hey, short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. That's what you want to do. Delayed gratification. Hey, we're going to put this off for today so we can get this tomorrow.
Yeah. But whenever that collective bargaining agreement is up for change or up for adoption, they got the Players Association got to put in more things to protect the players. And it's unacceptable, something that you said, that some of these retired players doesn't have lifetime insurance coverage. I mean, that's ridiculous, man. As much money that league make, $8 billion a year, whatever it is, you got a commissioner making $1 billion a year. I think that's his salary. And you can't get these players, lifetime health insurance is an embarrassment for this league. When you got that many guys that's retired and got health issues based on based on the game. The game, you go back and look at how Earl Campbell is struggling, can't walk, those things. I mean, that's unacceptable. There's no way that the union, there's no way that these current players should do that to the players who set the path for them to even enjoy that big money contracts that they have right now. I mean, that's just like that. That's almost to me like they turning their backs on these trendsetters who made it possible for them to earn that money that they're making right now. A lot of those old guys would love to be in this era here and then make a shade of the money that they're making now.
Absolutely. You see, these youngsters don't care about later. They want their bling now. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's a me first generation, and they don't care about tradition. They care about getting paid.
But somebody need to tell them, man, y'all can get even more, man, because there's no way that they shouldn't have bigger contracts by now. They're like Bet Shop say their salaries haven't even doubled, and the owner's value, their salaries have quadrupled.
But
crazy,
Brandon. We go back what we talked about a week ago or so. This league better start being more concerned about the fans and the perception of the fans, because that everything in this world, you don't always stay at the top. No matter how good your league is, how good this is, you don't necessarily just stay on top without doing nothing to keep yourself there. And to me, it just seems like sometimes the NFL takes fans for granted. They just take things for granted, and they just feel like, okay, we always gonna have fans. We're always gonna make $8 billion a year. We're always gonna have this. And man, hey, ask the television stations, do they feel that CBS used to be the top everything in the 70s, and they took the audience for granted, and they went from number 1 to number 3. And this league better watch it too, because they charged for this, they charged for that. You can't even get a jersey now, and you got to pay almost $200 for it. I mean, that's just those things, man. You can't you can't get young fans and keep them if you have the game too pricey for them to be a part of.
Yeah, and you know who's finding out about that too is CNN. You got YouTubers you've never heard of who have bigger draws than CNN, and that's why CNN Plus failed. Catering to your audience. You think you're going to be on top? It's over, man. It's a wrap. Yeah. It's a wrap. In the NFL, you can't continue to think that, oh, we got football, so they always going to come back. That's their attitude.
Yeah.
Because they know people are going to come back and people are going to watch. That's their attitude. But as we're seeing, the younger generation, they're not so hard up for certain stuff. If it ain't TikTok, if it ain't 60 seconds long, their attention spans are short. They
don't care about tradition either. Tradition don't mean nothing to the young folks, man.
Yeah.
They don't follow, oh, my dad used to watch this, so I'm gonna watch. They don't live like that.
Nope. Yeah, I was this fan of this team because my dad was this fan of this team. That's going away.
Yep. Yeah.
So man, we're gonna leave it right there. We're gonna finish up with Duke volleyball, and we're gonna get up out of here. It's 9:05. We gotta get up out of here. All right, so it says Duke volleyball's Rachel Richardson says BYU was slow to respond to racial slurs. So for those of you who did not hear, Duke volleyball was playing against BYU in Utah, and some fans were yelling racial slurs at I think it's only one. I think she's the only black player on Duke's team, was yelling racial slurs, and you know what the slur was at her during the game, and they were slow to react and didn't stop the game. So as a Duke volleyball player who was subjected to racial slurs during the match at BYU said Sunday that officials on site didn't react quickly enough when they were made aware of the behavior during play, nor did they adequately address the situation immediately after the game, Richard Richardson said in a statement posted to her Twitter account. No athlete, regardless of their race, should ever be subject to such hostile conditions, said Richardson, the only black starter on the Blue Devils team. BYU banned a fan from all athletic venues on campus Saturday, a day after the match, and said the athletic department has a zero-tolerance approach to this behavior. The fan was not a student, but was sitting in the student section. Richardson's grandmother, Lisa Pamplin, had tweeted that Richardson was called a racial slur every time she served during the match. She also wrote that Richardson was threatened by a white male that told her to watch her back going to the team bus. A police officer had to be put by their bench. Richardson, a 19-year-old sophomore from Elliott City, Maryland, wrote that she didn't believe that the fans' actions were a reflection of the BYU athletes, saying her opponent showed respect and sportsmanship, and that BYU athletic director Tom Holmoe reacted quickly once he was notified. This is not the first time this has happened in college athletics, and it will likely not be the last time, Richardson said. However, each time it happens, we as student athletes, coaches, fans, and administrators have a chance to educate those who act in hateful ways. Richardson also responded to the idea that some people would have liked to see Duke's team respond quickly, such as by refusing to continue to playing in what became a 3-1 victory for BYU. Although the heckling eventually took a mental toll on me, I refused to allow it to stop me from doing what I love to do and what I became to BYU to do, which was play volleyball, Richardson said. I refused to allow those racist bigots to feel any degree of satisfaction from thinking their comments had got to me, so I pushed through and finished the game. Therefore, on behalf of my African-American teammates and I, we do not want to receive pity or to be looked at as helpless. We do not feel as though we are victims of some tragic, unavoidable event. We are proud to be young African-American women. We are proud to be Duke student athletes, and we are proud to stand up against racism. Duke had its Saturday match against Ryder moved from BYU Smithfield House to the different venue in Provo, Utah. Richardson led the Blue Devils with 3 aces and a 3-1 win. Later Sunday, Duke issued a statement saying, "We stand against any form of racism, bigotry, or hatred. As a program, we have worked extensively to create an inclusive and safe environment where our student athletes feel heard and supported, but are not naive to the fact that there is also work to be done." Yeah, it is work to be done, Duke, because y'all dropped the ball as well. This isn't just a BYU thing. This is y'all too, because you should have stopped the game. And guys like that, I mean, those are cowards. I mean, we call those guys what they are. Those are cowards because you were yelling this at a young lady. Go yell that to a Duke football player, a black football player, and let's see where that gets you. Because he's most likely gonna put you in the dirt, sir. I mean, this is a coward. You know, want to yell racial slurs, but the most egregious part was the slow reaction by BYU and Duke and those officials at the venue. You should immediately remove this person from the venue as soon as it's heard, as soon as it's brought to your attention that this was going on. This was inexcusable. The NCAA should be involved in this as well.
Yeah. I think Duke should have just pulled their team off the court, to be honest. But let me say this, Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
Out of my NBA years, the most uncomfortable city that I ever traveled to consistently was Salt Lake City. When covering a game at that arena where the Jags play in Utah, the state of Mormons, it's a Mormon state. I have never been any place other than in Salt Lake City where I did not see no one in the entire arena look like me.
Right.
And I'm talking about everybody, from the servers to the fans. And I never heard any racist or anything like that. But going to a restaurant in Salt Lake City, I've been in a restaurant in Salt Lake City where everybody in the whole restaurant stopped eating, turned around, and watched me enter the front door. I have never been in any other city in America but Salt Lake that ever happened to me. And I've never traveled in any other city except Utah where I didn't see anybody the whole day other than the basketball team look like me. So take it for what it's worth. Provo, Utah, Salt Lake. Provo to Salt Lake is not that far, but the whole state of Utah is a different experience. They don't have many minorities in that state. So I can't imagine what this young lady felt like there, not seeing anybody that looked like her probably, and then hearing racial slurs being thrown at her and not have her team take the initiative to just walk off the court, Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Then them threatening her.
Yeah.
Oh man, come on. This is egregious. This is egregious. But hey, when we think we've come so far,
yeah,
they show us once again that you haven't gone anywhere. You haven't gotten very far.
Yeah. After the first racist slur, that guy should have been removed. It shouldn't have been repeated, and the game should have been stopped. Duke should have took the initiative to take the team off the floor, immediately have this guy removed after the first racial slur that he said. That's how you handle it. You don't handle it after the fact where she done heard her name, being heard that racial slur repeatedly, being threatened, and she have to go through something like that, and those schools don't take action, initiate the action, not, oh, well, we did this, he's suspended, he'll never be able to come to, but that's after the fact. And then, what she had to go through is what she shouldn't have had to go through, if you get my drift.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, to be honest, that punishment isn't good enough. Okay, he can't go to BYU games anymore. So what? Yeah. He shouldn't be able to go to any other NCAA sanctioned event. No matter what it is. It could be a twirling contest. He shouldn't be able to go if it's sanctioned by the NCAA.
Yeah, my biggest question is, why did it take so long for the police to act? Why did it take so long for the teams just to leave the court? In protest, the Duke should have protested, but you got law enforcement officials at the match. Why did no one take the initial initiative to remove him from the arena just after he said it?
Yeah, absolutely.
But we in Utah.
We are. That is Utah, man. Outside of what's that? Outside of what? Maybe Boston. We've heard how Boston can be when it comes to their sports. Very very eccentric. Is the best way to put it, man.
Especially when they get that alcoholic beverage in them in the garden.
Especially when they get that alcoholic beverage in them, man. But it is what it is. But I appreciate everybody for tuning in. We're gonna cap it right there. It's 9:14, man. We made it. For sure. But hey, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on all my social medias. Follow Mr. Reid on Twitter. We will be back with another live stream next week. I will be back on videos. I got to get back on my videos. I've been busy though, but I'm gonna get back on these videos. I'm gonna do a video talk about Wes Welker. He was denied by the NFL. They saying because they can't substantiate whether his injuries that he has accrued over his playing time was due to the NFL. I saw it in writing. I saw it in writing, Mr. Reid, and I couldn't believe it. He put it on Twitter, and I said, that is absolutely insane. And people were putting up video after video of him being knocked out. And they saying that, you mean the NFL didn't see this video?
Yeah.
Absolutely egregious. But this is, once again, lack of a collective bargaining agreement, lack of a union, lack of players caring about other players and their futures.
Yeah. And not holding the NFL accountable for their actions. They're putting these players to do this and do that. And I really feel, I say this strongly, man, the NFL has to change in a lot of things. I mean, even if they have an outside watchdog, I think they've become so big that it need an outside agency just to stay on task, so they can stay on task, because I think they're getting away with too much, to be honest. I'm just saying, I just think they get away with too much from racism to I mean, they just like that there. How can you say this guy didn't get injured through the game? I mean, what did he do? Got hurt putting up a window pane? Come on,
man. Yeah, it is what it is, man. But until next time, we talk to you guys later, man.
Peace out.
Peace out.